Hello and welcome to the Power of Passive Investing. We have a very interesting guest today. And no, I'm not going to tell you that he is a real estate investor, although we'll ask him about that. But he has a very interesting company that we're going to cover today, and you'll see how his company may potentially benefit you and benefit you tremendously. Litan, welcome to the show.
Hey, Alina, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Great to have you. Why don't we start with you sharing a little bit about yourself, your bio, and what you've done in the past and what you do now?
Yeah, so I have a weird background. So I'm a tech entrepreneur from Israel. Before that, I was in the Israeli Navy for 6 years. I went to school, and then before that, Navy. I went to school, studied law and business, and then founded a company in the diamond industry that we scaled and sold. We did 3D technology for diamonds.
Wow.
Exited that 10 years ago, made some money. And over the past decade, we've been investing in that on our own, me and my co-founder. A lot of different private equity, real estate, startups, around US, Europe, Israel. And while doing that, I had these good problems of managing our wealth. And then at some point built software for us to manage it more efficiently and, you know, streamline our back office operations of pulling data, analyzing it, and giving us a really good interface to understanding where we're at. And we're not financial professionals, so we wanted to build an intuitive interface for us. And then it just turned out to be a whole new startup that we founded 4.5 years ago and launched a couple years ago to the US market to people like us, high net worth individuals who have that complexity but aren't big enough for to want to have a traditional family office. And then since then, it's evolved to be a full, AI co-pilot for high net worth individuals, family offices, wealth managers, and it's continuing to evolve, as well as the private passive investing space as we all see as well over the past years. It's evolved. So anyway, that's a quick background of like where we started and where we're at.
Awesome, amazing. Thank you for sharing that. So when you started Wiser, it was primarily to solve your own problems. Is that correct?
100%.
And when you started that, did you kind of invite friends and family to beta test it with you, or
No,
just
no,
you?
no. It was like we were building this, and you have these just friendly conversations like what we're building now and what we're doing and why we're doing it. And then wait, damn, I needed that as well. Can I also can you give me access? And then that just kept on happening, and we said, wait, hold on a sec. Let's explore this industry deeper and understand, is there a use case? Is there a pain point in the industry? Is it broad enough to build a whole startup into the software? And we decided it was, and so that's why we decided to go full blown on this.
Got it. I love it. Uh, Litan, you mentioned that you built and sold the jewelry company. After you exited, was there a plan to build something else?
So the exit was good. It wasn't like tens of millions. It wasn't enough for us to say, all right, we don't want to. But regardless of that, even if it was, we always have this itch to build something new. Like after we sold that company, when you sell a company, many times you have what's called an earn out period, right? You sell a company, and then during that transition phase, the parent company or the acquirer wants to make sure that you stay on board, and throughout that period, you get more integrated and all that. Anyway, we had a 3 year earnout, and during that 3 year earnout, it was a very easy transition for us. Like we stayed our own company, we did whatever we wanted, we kept on building. We just got a parent company who just fund us as much as we wanted. Really good relationship with the founder of that. Anyway, it was easy. It wasn't easy. It was fun. It was good. We could have stayed on for years afterwards. Our third co-founder is still there. We left 7 years ago, and he's still there because he didn't want to leave yet. And so
Sure.
we could have stayed, but we just had this itch that we want to build again. We just enjoy it's just that adrenaline, the it's hard. It's not There's nothing easy about building again, and you even have more demands from yourselves, and others also have high expectations. What, you're a second time founder, you sold your previous company, the next one's going to be at least as good, if not tons better. And so there's a
Yep.
lot of stress as well. But despite all that, we were really locked into building again, and we iterated different business ideas before this one. again, this wasn't even planned on being a new business idea. We just built this for us, and there were some other business ideas we were playing around with, and this just sucked us in deeper.
Got it. Awesome. So, when you started your company, when you started Wiser, I should say, because you started multiple companies, and realized there was a pain point beyond just yourself and your friend, what were eh, the features that you offered your initial clients, and how is it different? I know it's a long-winded questions, but how is it different? Like, how is it evolved to what it is today?
Oof, the first obviously I'm embarrassed of the first versions we had, but the first versions were very basic in pulling data from the regular financial institutions through the APIs like Plaid and others, and just manually adding assets and no real analysis. We had some machine learning, not this was before OpenAI and all the, AI buzzwords, but we had some machine learnings on identifying transactions in banks, but really basic stuff. And we joke that the asset allocation in our platform, the asset classes, they're still our own, but we've added functionality that you can customize your own asset classes. So the platform has become a lot more robust from a functionality standpoint, a lot more smart from a AI recommendation insight standpoint, and also a lot more use cases. We didn't have a lot of functions we have today in our platform, and it's evolved to be a real operating system as more than a dashboard, which is how it started.
Got it. Interestingly enough, you mentioned that it's not serving just regular investors or family offices, but it can also serve wealth managers and wealth advisors. So these are people that are servicing other people. So do you have, I guess, different features and functionalities that you offer to ones versus the others?
Oh yeah, 100%. In the business world, there's what's called B2C and B2B, right? There's business to consumer and business to business. And so our company began as a business to consumer, a B2C company. It still has B2C functionality, but we've been adding B2B functionality as well. So you're right, the B2Bs that we serve, the businesses we serve, the wealth management firms, the multifamily offices, they serve the end consumer. Now, because we started bottom up meaning we started serving their clients, becoming their full back office and full front office, the client themselves, adding the B2B layer on top of it, they still leverage our full back office, our full front office, but they also leverage their own abilities as professional advisors to then add their own personal layer and psychological aspects to their clients, right? So they leverage our tech to reduce or empower their back office team,
Mhm.
to get more insights on how to better serve their clients. And then the client on the front end also gets a really intuitive interface, a mobile app, and all that. But the middle function, the B2B function, where the advisor then has to get their own customizable features. Obviously, it's white labeled, so it's a different, type of, visual
Right.
platform. But then, even logging in, the client sees their own dashboard. The advisor sees a different type of dashboard, a different type of interaction, so they can do two functions: help manage the client and also help manage their operation for serving their clients. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It does make sense. Um, and you mentioned AI, and we know that the world of AI is progressing faster than we want it to be, potentially. How are you incorporating AI, and how do you see it replace some of the functionality that's available right now in your software?
So that's a great question. Yes, it is evolving, and people can try and imagine how it will evolve at the end, but no one really knows. I think that the human interaction will never go away, especially to this audience. I think the human interaction will be empowered by AI and tech. I think there will be people, sort of end consumers, who don't want the human interaction, but I think at some point, some situations, you always will, at least in the foreseen future. The way we see it is when we say that we're a full back office, so we have AI on two sides of our stack. On the back end of our stack, we use AI to pull, analyze, extract unstructured data from any financial source. And that's something that, usually an admin, an analyst, or someone has to go manually in and extract data from these unstructured sources. And so it empowers a team that's already in place, but you don't have to hire more people because that team can now do so much more, uh, um, so many more actions with the power of AI that we provide them on the back office, on the back end side of it. On the other side of the stack is the front end side, or the front office as they call it, is the ability for the advisor and the client to interact with their data, not just using UI, user interface, but also using AI in a more intuitive ChatGPT manner, right? So everyone's used to using all these ChatGPTs and Geminis and Perplexity and Claude and Grok and all these really great AIs out there, but it's all conversational, and it just makes so much sense to be able to have that same conversation approach to your financial data, and we layer in the market data. And so that's what we have on both sides of our stack. We have AI both on the back and on the front, and it'll keep on evolving, obviously as the product evolves.
Of course, makes sense. Ethan, as you're growing and adding new features, I'm sure you're looking at your competition. And you and I have talked a little bit about Empower beforehand as one of your competitors. Let's talk a little bit more about competition, whether it's Empower or someone else. I'm sure they're not the only ones. How are you different from Empower and others, and what makes you guys stand out?
Yeah, it's a really important question. And just like on that point, we don't really see Empower and that whole stack of tech as our competitors just because they serve a very different type of audience with different pain points. Once you add private investments, investor portals, more complex holdings into your portfolio, the budgeting apps or the retirement planners of the world, which are great for the mass market, usually don't cut it because you have to do a lot of manual labor. You have to maintain a spreadsheet sometimes to track distributions, capital calls. You have to use Dropbox or Google Drive to store all the documents to understand where everything is fits. And then tax season comes around. Let's go find my K1s. Empower is a great piece of software, and all these others, around there are as well, but they're just not built to serve as your financial admin and a user interface and user experience that's built for that type of investor that I just mentioned. So anyway, so Empower, and we put into that bucket all the Monarchs, the Rocket Monies, the YNABs. These are more, net worth trackers, budgeting apps that are great for that use case. But once you enter that segment, which is more complex, they usually don't cut it, and it's just not built for that. And then you go into the segment, which is the other side of the market, which are the Adapars of the world. I don't know if you've heard of Adapar, but Adapar is a software, an amazing piece of software that's built for the largest financial institutions in the world, the large RIA firms, the big endowments,
Mm-hmm.
the big single family offices, the multi billion single. So all those, Adapar is one of the preferred softwares they use. But even then, Adapar, you have to buy other additions to it. You have to buy, an aggregator for private investments and another for planning. And there's all these other platforms you need. And then there's everything in the middle between Adapar and all the budgeting apps. The way we see it, because we connect any data source, we can pull data from an Adapar and any other financial software into ours because we, again, are trying to build this AI copilot that sits on top of everything. So those sources of data can be a bank, they can be an investor portal, they can be another software solution like an Adapar, an Orion, an eMoney, whatever it is. So we again give that layer on top of it all. That can either be on top or it can replace parts of it. And so when you look at the competitive landscape, we're not alone in this. There's a lot of people a lot of companies trying to solve the same type of pain point. We're just positioned differently because number one, we started relatively recently, like 4.5 years ago. So we've already sort of built an infrastructure of AI on the bottom and on the top. Number two, we started from the consumers, from the high net worth individuals. So we know really well what they need, what they have, and what the data they've been using. And we've taught our AI based on that data set. so that when we go up market to the advisors who are serving that audience, we can help give them more value. This is as opposed to if you think of like the Adapars of the world, which are more very, they started from day one B2B focused on the
Mhm.
advisors. For them to go down market is just a different, it's a different ball game. We took a difficult approach to it.
So in your case, you're going in parallel, serving both markets at the same time?
Well, they're both the same parts of the or different parts of the same problem because we serve an advisor and that advisor needs to serve a high net worth individuals. We already serve the high net worth individuals, so it's just adding another layer on top of that,
Right,
right?
right. But you need to be growing both at the same time when you're adding new
You're
functionalities.
right. Yeah, the problem as every company has in the startup world is what do you focus on? What's a priority? We feel that the consumer side of the product is pretty evolved. We keep on adding more features, but now we're focusing more on the features that are for the B2B side of it, for the advisors. But again, mind you, the advisors and the consumers will both be evolved because we need both to serve both. If that makes any sense. I mean, it sounds confusing, but
It does.
I'll give you an example. We're launching a feature this week, which is sort of an entity structure. So the client can see their holdings. In some people hold their investments through a trust, an LLC. There's the spouse, there's the kids, there's the ability to see the whole tree of entities and to be able to understand ownership percentages and for estate planning purposes and stuff like that. That's a feature we're launching this week, which serves both the high net worth clients because, but it also serves the advisor who needs that visibility to give the advice on how they should structure their products, their investments. And so, like, there's all these examples of different requirements for both sides of the equation.
Got it. Very nice. I like that. So, from an individual consumer, from a B2C standpoint, if family office or ultra high net worth individual is looking for such application that will serve them well and be one size fits all, if you will, solution for managing their wealth. Um, how would you advise for them to approach this when looking at your app and maybe looking at Autopar and maybe at other apps because I'm sure there are many others as well. Like what should they be looking for in the application?
It needs to match their needs. That's obviously it sounds very trivial, but it's extremely important. I think if if you're a family that has, and it doesn't matter the net worth the way I see it. It more matters, the complexity is what matters. So if you have less than five private investments, meaning private investments, real estate, private equities, startups, all that,
Hmm.
and these investments, maybe don't even have cash flow or documents flowing in and out. I don't think you really need a software to store it. Usually in a spreadsheet in Google Drive or Dropbox is enough, and using an Empower or those budgeting apps is good enough. But I think once you cross the 5 to 10 private market holdings in your portfolio, and I, by the way, I don't think like startups should be in that realm because startups are just the easiest asset to track because nothing really happens. Maybe once every 2 years there's a raise and then that's it. As
Yeah.
opposed to more real estate private equity where you have cash flows every month, every quarter. You have capital calls sometimes. You have documents coming in. You have emails coming in. You have K1s. And when you have, 5 or 10 plus, it just becomes a mess. Not to mention the time you have to do to log into these different investor portals. I think that's when you need to start to find a solution. That's the baseline. Now, looking for that solution, it's number one. I think about it as a one-stop shop. I think that's the best type of solution. I think buying different, creating your own bundles and it creates a whole new craziness of overhead. And so just to reiterate, number one is make sure that I think that you even need something to solve complexity, meaning that you have enough complexity. And then when you think you do have enough complexity, you want you if you don't have a team, by the way, if you have your own team, if you're big enough to have your own family office, I don't think it matters as much. I mean, yeah, it could be easier for them to have a one-stop shop, but if you're already paying for the whole team, then just get whatever matches those functionalities. And by the way, there's a bunch of platforms, websites in the market. Family office tech. If you look for family office technologies or investment management technologies or private market, there's a bunch of platforms, and even there are firms that will advise you on which is the best software for me.
Hmm.
One of them is called andsimple.co, which is one of those platforms. There's another one's called Deviate. There's another one called Variety. There's all these other. There's a bunch of uh, websites that have evolved to advise high net worth families on how to allocate which tech platforms to acquire to manage their needs.
Got it. Litan, for for clients that are using Wiser, what would you say has been so far the greatest benefit for them when they use Wiser?
I think the ability to create a single source of truth for everything they have has been the highest value. They don't need to manage spreadsheets or Google Drive or Dropbox anymore. That's been the main. And then that also obviously leads to the ability to what we call VIP sync, which is we pull data from every platform, every portal, even if there's no API,
Wow,
because we have our own back office team and we have our own AI, and we also do scraping in some occasions. And so you don't have to log into a portal anymore. You just do everything from one place.
that's incredible.
Yeah,
So if someone has investments at different portals, they don't have to log into that anymore. It's all done through Wiser.
correct.
That's really impressive, and it's seamless. It looks like one UI.
Yep.
Very nice. That's pretty awesome. So you said that you opened up to the market what about 2.5 years ago, even though the company was started four and a half
Yeah.
years ago. Um, what was the primary source of growth so far? Is it referrals, advertisements, something else?
It's we've done a lot of partnerships with different investor clubs and communities,
Hmm.
um, where members of those communities receive Visor complimentary just because they're paying to be part of the community. That's been a good source of growth. And then we do a lot of educational content. Um, we do a podcast, me and two other LPs, where we publicly review pitch decks.
Hmm.
And Mike, we talked about Mike Rondorfo before, so
Yeah,
we need Mike and Hans Box, which is another great LP. We have GP send us their pitch decks, and we publicly review the pitch decks and put it on YouTube so that LPs can learn how to be better investors, and GPs can learn how to put together better decks. And so that also creates some educational content to bring in more people and create awareness. And we've done a bunch of performance marketing, so that's basically ads on Meta and Google, um, sponsorships for events. So there's different strategies to get in front of more people. Um,
amazing.
yeah,
I love it. Leighton, where do you see Wiser 5, 10 years from now?
it's a great question. I think so. Our vision, as I mentioned at the beginning, is to be the AI co-pilot that powers the wealth management industry, specifically those who serve high net worth individuals, because that's what we're training our data on. So, and I'll give an analogy that I've been giving recently because I just think it makes a lot of sense. Maybe it just makes sense to me, but you'll tell me what you think. I think about Waymo. Are you familiar with Waymo, the autonomous vehicle?
No.
So Waymo is a company. It was spun out of Google, but it's an autonomous vehicle company that serves as a alternative to Uber.
Okay.
So in I think 5 or 10 cities around the U.S., you have Waymos where you open an app and order an autonomous vehicle to pick you up and take you somewhere. Now you think that's like direct competition to Uber, correct? Or
Sure.
Lyft.
Hmm.
But Uber and Lyft have thought about adding Waymo into their offerings. So it could be Waymo, it can be UberX, it can be Uber, whatever, autonomous, that'll be powered by Waymo, it can be UberX, whatever. And so there's a world where Waymo and Uber exist together.
Sure.
I see us as the Waymo. We're like the autonomous finance or the AI around financial management, but the Uber is the financial advisors or the wealth managers. They can also offer Visor as a white label to their clients or to operate their whole system. And then you basically have two offerings that coexist, powered by the same powerful AI in the back end. And when I say everyone thinks AI is just chat. I think I look at AI as a blend. It's like more holistic AI. It's AI and UI combined in two, because in the financial industry, you have to be able to see visualization of your data, not just textual representation of your data. And so I
Okay.
think when we think about I'll give you, even our platform now is built with two different interfaces. We have an AI assistant, which is the GPT type appearance, and the UI dashboard adjacent to it, so you can see both. And they both evolve, and they, obviously, coexist, and that'll just be bigger and cover more data sets on the back end to be able to give that proactive insight and advice both to the advisor and to the clients. So I see us becoming the operating system on top of all those other softwares or replacing part of them.
I love it. That's amazing. Litan, we talked about the human factor and human interaction in the world of AI a little bit. Um, do you think at some point in the future, Wiser would offer services as well on top of offering the software as a service?
Yeah, I think there's a very thin line between the two, and I think it is a line we will cross, just because it makes sense, especially when you think about the power of the crowd. We can provide services, not just, by the way, service, I mean service also from a financial standpoint. So if we can give treasury or cash management services to our clients because we have, such a large audience, and then adding that functionality isn't really a tech issue, it's more compliance. And then it can bring value to our audience, and it also can we can also monetize that because it makes sense from a transactional standpoint. So I
Yeah,
definitely think there's a way where we provide value and also increase our revenue by providing those types of services that does not conflict with the interests of our clients. And just cash management treasury is one example, right? There's a bunch of other, you can build tax efficient structured products, fund to fund models, feeders, other world around the other offerings around the financial space.
makes sense. Makes sense. Love it. Thank you for sharing that. Litan, it has been a very interesting interview. I very much appreciate it. And I hope our audience goes and checks out Visors and takes advantage of this great tool. We always like to ask two personal questions in the end of each interview. First one is how our audience can reach out to you. What's the best way?
Yeah, I'm pretty available on every medium, but maybe email is the best. Litan, Litan at Visor. Visor is VYZER.co. So either that or, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Litan Yahav. Pretty straightforward.
Awesome. Thank you. And the second question is how do you like to give back?
I love helping people who are interested in passive investing, and as an LP, I just think that the benefit or the risk reward passiveness benefit of it is just unparalleled. It's hard to find good people to invest with, but I think once you do, it's usually smooth sailing. Um, and so if I love helping anyone who's interested in the passive investing world, the LP investing world, just to help out either vetting stuff or thinking through stuff. So
Yeah, very, very much. And what would you say are the uh, top three suggestions you would give to someone who is a novice passive investor?
oof, top three. Well, it's funny. I think the top three are really uh, common. The number one is you're not investing in a deal. You're investing with an operator, with
Yeah,
the GP, and you want to make sure that you're investing with the right one. The right one doesn't necessarily mean the biggest one, the most experienced one. The right one is just what matches your needs. That's number one. Number two, I think the passive side of it is the important aspect that you need to make sure you understand that it is not passive on the front end, meaning finding that good GP, good operator to invest with
yeah,
takes work. And I joke that people will spend hours, if not days, saving a couple $1,000s on a trip. but they won't spend the same amount of time finding the best deal to invest in.
That's very true. Yes.
And I think you know, it's just plain stupid. Like it's just laziness. And I think that it's people need to overcome them. So that's two. Three, um, I want to make sure I choose this third one uh, properly.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
yeah. So passive investing, all right, it's not meant for everyone. It's just like it's not. You might find because the problem with it is there's a herd mentality when it comes to investing, generally speaking, and passive investments as well. And I get it, and it makes sense, but you need to try and avoid it because not everyone. It's good for them. People might it just might be so much simpler or easier, or make more sense just to dollar cost average into the S&P 500 for the rest of your life, but just forget about it. It's not for everyone, and not everyone needs it. And so I think that it's a really important question to ask yourself if you really need and want this, because at the end of the day, the S&P 500, it has its other issues. It's not as tax efficient. It does have a lot of volatility. It's not diversified like a real estate, but it's averaged 9.8% over the past 30 years. And so you have to keep that in mind. I love private passive investing. It is for me, but that doesn't mean it's for everyone.
Yeah, Litan, I have to give you the benefit. It was a well thought out answer. I don't think anyone had ever given me that answer, especially number three, but I definitely agree with you. So thank you for that. Thanks
For sure.
for your thoughtfulness. Litan, it's been a pleasure interviewing you, and I highly encourage our audience to go check out Wiser, whether you're a wealth manager or just individual high net worth investor or family office. I think you will benefit from at least checking out Wiser and giving it a try, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Thank you for the interview, Litan.
Thanks for having me.
Take care.